planning on showing up tonight, so we'll see. So here we are. How's everybody feeling right now?
Cold.
I'm getting over my sick.
Yeah, still?
Yeah, well, I haven't stopped working.
Yeah.
So it's that. Plus, it's been actually raining in California, so not used to the cold or the wet.
Yeah, I can't imagine Sarah, Robin. It's got to be freezing out there.
No, the sun was shining. We have as many days of sunshine as Honolulu.
You know, they always said that about Boulder when I lived out there, and it was certainly warm. We got a lot of sunshine, but the cold, you know, I mean, it can get cold.
Oh yeah. It is the tundra after all, so.
Right, the tundra, the frozen tundra. Sorry, Kiyoshi, I muted you just because you had some feedback coming through.
Oh yeah, I know. I meant to mute myself, but yeah.
That's okay.
There's like a loud air conditioner type thing.
That's okay. So how's Robin? I'm going to put you on the agenda for a little bit down the line for talking about your testing.
Okay.
How's everybody else feeling about class content so far?
Good.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Pretty good.
A lot to think about. How so?
Well, it's like mullighting in my brain. Now I want to change from cone 3 to cone 6. And I've got an idea about how to improve the color that I would lose at cone 6. So I'm still pondering, and some of that can come later when we talk about my testing.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll hold off on that for a second. So has everybody gotten through yesterday's lecture, which is, what, firing 1? And I have to look at my own notes here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, everybody's through firing 1. And any particular questions at this point?
I have a question.
Okay, lay it on me.
This might be like a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How does okay, so I know that cones measure temperature.
Mm-hmm.
But when I pick out like a temperature and I go to the cone chart, how do I know? How does that work?
What do you mean when you pick out a temperature?
That's
well, so
question.
if I pulled up as I'm following the lecture, and we're looking at the firing curves, and I want to pull up the chart,
okay,
and figure out what cone that would be. There's like, when I look at, say, cone 6, there's like this one for large cones, and this one for self-supporting cones, and this one for little tiny cones, and like all the temperatures are all different across the line.
Right.
Okay. I figure like I should know this, but I don't understand what that means exactly.
I will answer this, but this is actually specifically addressed in tomorrow's lecture.
Okay, well that's all good.
It literally comes up where I pull up a cone chart. Or wait, was it in today's lecture? Hold on, now I'm looking at tomorrow's lecture and going, where? No, yeah, it's in tomorrow's lecture.
Okay.
Okay,
so
I guess I put it in one lecture too late. But
okay, well, all good.
No, we can talk about it now. I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me. Hold on. Screen share's not working. I gotta mess around for stuff for a second. Let me turn down my resolution, and then check the.
So that's not a ridiculous question. Okay, good.
No, it's a perfectly. Make myself all fuzzy for a minute. Make screen share work. Turn it back up. I don't know why this works, but sometimes my screen share doesn't work, so I have to turn down my resolution and then turn it back up, and then screen share works. Okay, so no, it's a perfectly acceptable question. Okay, so everybody see the cone chart?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on the cone chart, what we have, and let me zoom in a little. Okay, so we have temperature based on different geometry of cones, okay? And the thing is that there are self-supporting cones, which are, hold on, I can't move over. Okay, self-supporting cones, which are these cones in this drawing, where they've got the built-in foot, right, and you don't need a cone pack. Then there are large cones, which are the ones we make that need a cone pack. Okay? And then there are the small, which are the sitter cones.
Okay.
Right? So the what thing people tend to miss about cones is this. Heating rate is degrees C per hour for last 100 degrees C of firing. Which is interesting. Basically, I mean, we know this, that cones are irrelevant up until they start bending. They tell you nothing. But this is an important detail that people are missing. So what these temperatures are is that this is the degrees C per hour. Okay? And so if you are firing at 150 degrees C per hour for the last 100 degrees of the firing, cone 10 equals 1305.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what it is also saying is that if you're firing at 60 degrees an hour for the last 100 degrees C, cone 10 equals 1285.
Okay.
Okay, and this goes back to a concept that we talked about in glazes, and again, we'll come up tomorrow, that time and temperature equal chemistry. Or you can
Okay.
sort of create a triangle between any of those three, and two of them equal the third one. Okay? Because where it really gets tricky is at 15 degrees per hour, okay, cone 10 is 1250, which is like almost cone 6 versus a normal firing. But at 15 degrees per hour, that's going to take us 7.5 hours to get that last 100 degrees C of firing. So that means you're literally dwelling at temperature for 7 hours. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so then there's the self-supporting cones versus the large cones, and there's a 2-degree difference. Like in the self-supporting cones, this is 1305, and this is 1303. So even, I mean, you know, when I talk about stuff, I always just say 1300 because it's all so relative. Then the last part is the self-supporting, or the small cones, where cone 10 is 1330, and that's partially the safety mechanism of that, that these are not really meant to be fired to. They're more of for safety, for a shutoff, so that you don't overfire. But people use them to fire to all the time. Okay.
How does the iron-free end at cone 3?
It's because of whatever they're using for the chemistry of the iron-free. And honestly, I've never seen an iron-free cone in my life.
Neither have I.
I
No, wait,
don't.
have seen them.
You have?
Yeah, we had some.
I mean, over cone 10, these are all inherently iron-free. And this goes back to the trick of Seeger, right? Over cone 1, you're iron-free. Under cone 01, you are using iron as the flux. But, you know, how they're getting iron-free under cone 01, I have no idea how they're doing it. My guess would be borates, but I don't know what the chemistry on that is, you know, so. Okay, and now that you've all seen that, you can watch it again tomorrow.
Yay!
Really stick.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, why do some people like to put wells in their firing schedule at random intervals? I know people put, you know, I don't know, like a 30 minutes to an hour dwell around 500 to drive off the chemical water. But I've seen people put, sorry, that's in Fahrenheit. I've seen people put random dwells in at various costs, not for body reduction. Oh, there's a friend.
Oh! Somebody's hair is having a party tonight. You want my headphones?
Yeah.
So you can say goodnight to everybody?
Yes. And say hi.
Okay.
Uh,
Hi.
Hi.
Bye.
Eli, be nice.
hi. Yay.
You're being a goofus.
Do you have any new
Yeah.
toys today?
Pat, pat, pat.
I'm going to have to show you where Robin and Sarah live on your map that you got for Christmas. They live far away. Actually, Peter lives even farther away.
Yeah.
On the other side of the country.
Okay, is it your bedtime?
Yeah.
Okay, say goodnight.
Good nighties.
Good night.
Good nighties.
Go, troublemaker. Sorry about that, everybody. So again, I probably should have published tomorrow's lecture today. That also comes up in tomorrow's lecture.
All right. That's another we'll get there.
Well, it's I had hoped initially that I could do firing as one lecture, but it ended up being two. So I don't know, is the short version. There's really only one time you need to slow down in a firing. Two times technically. One is if it is in the bisque, everything has to be completely and utterly dry. And the other is that a dwell at peak temperature is not a terrible thing to do. And that's it. And that's for homogenization of heat, just because you've got a lot of heat, it's not even top to bottom, the heat might not have penetrated the ware completely, the glazes need a little time to mature. But other than that, quartz inversion, not a thing. I was going back and reading some of Cushing's stuff yesterday, or I guess the other day, talking about, is he going really slow for reducing his glazes? Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, I think it's sort of overdone. But he knew how he really liked things, so I can't contradict that per se. But I think he was slightly overdoing reduction as far as I'm concerned. Wherein he would fire in constant low reduction, which I don't see the benefit of that.
Why would you fire in constant low reduction? I mean, I get the body reduction, that's a fun thing to do.
Oh, I don't even get body reduction. I'm not even convinced that body reduction is absolutely required.
Huh.
Except
I don't know how I want to test that.
Except for what, Robin?
copper reds.
Except for copper reds, and that actually is the one exception. In copper reds, you do need a body reduction because the states of reducing that iron goes through to turn into a copper red. You start with copper carbonate, which then must be reduced to copper oxide, which then must be reduced to copper metal. And to get the both reductions in there, you need to do a body reduction to force them earlier in the firing, or you don't get that second reduction formation.
I think you just use copper oxide to begin with.
For some reason that doesn't work, and honestly I don't know why. You need to start with the copper carbonate. Because the final reduction is also there's also reducing. Part of copper reds is that you have to use tin as your opacifier, but the interesting thing about tin is that tin is not just an opacifier, it's a reducing agent. So tin actually forces the material to stay in reduction after you've shut the kiln down. So one other thing that works in copper reds is that you need to oxidize at the end. So you've pushed it into reduction until you're at cone 9, cone 9.5. The last thing you actually do is push it into oxidation and then shut the kiln down. And the actual belief on that is that by doing that, you then force the tin to start behaving as a reducing agent so that the tin keeps the metal from oxidizing through the cooling process.
Yeah.
Interesting, if true.
Copper reds are weird beasts. That's from Tashane, and I tend to believe him. He seems to know his copper reds. And I had students do some studies on copper reds 2 years ago, and we had done it without that final oxidation for the longest time, and then they started doing it, and all of a sudden their colors just exploded.
Huh.
It's like a clearing out or something. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always told to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To open it up at the end.
Yeah, I mean it's not necessary. You can get the reds will remain, but to get them really vibrant, that final oxidizing step really helps, along with the body reduction. But body reduction for the notion of bodies, I have not really, of all the studies I've done, even with high iron content bodies, the body reduction isn't necessarily giving you that much of benefit. There's always the notion that it strengthens the body, and I don't believe that that's the case. What actually strengthens the body is the formation of FeO, black iron oxide, as your glass, so you get black glass, which I've mentioned a few times. And black glass is much stronger than normal glass because you've got that RO fluxing the body and makes it very strong. Sorry, he's protesting bedtime, so I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, all the different stages, I honestly, in my cynical way, I just speculate that it's somebody once did a firing and they did all these steps and all their wear survived, so they just kept doing that, and then that's what they taught. But I haven't found any, like I'll talk about in tomorrow's lecture of, I fire like a rocket. I don't have any problems. Unless your wear is exceptionally uneven or exceptionally thick, fire like a rocket. Or it has challenging geometry. But basically, if you're firing pots, if you're firing sculpture, it's tenuous, but as long as things are fairly even in the wall thickness, it's good to go.
No, when I was doing crystal firings, I had students in the class who they weren't the best throwers. They had very uneven walls, going from 0 to cone 10, 6 to 8 hours. I think our lowest was 6. Our top was 8 or 9. No problem. Nothing blew up.
No, it's not going to. I mean, especially blowing up. Blowing up's not going to happen just because blowing up is only a condition of water. Water's the only reason why things blow up. So if the water's gone, it's not going to blow up. There is some thought about controlling slumping, which we will talk about slumping in the firing defects lecture. I think that the number 1 thing that controls slumping is composition. The number 2 thing that controls slumping is composition, and then the number 3 thing that controls slumping is the firing. And some clays are more sensitive to slumping, and it's mostly because of the composition. Did I mention that the composition is an issue?
No, I think you left that one out.
Yeah, so then the composition. But we'll talk about slumping, slightly more complicated, and I don't want to get into it yet just because we've got other information to get to before we get there.
What do you think about like shrink slabs and that whole thing? Like, I'm firing work on shrink slabs, and some people are saying to me like that the shrink slab should have holes in them. Some people are like, no, it could be just a slab.
Holes for venting?
Yep.
Nah. I mean, you're just doing it to keep the foot from dragging and pulling and cracking?
Yep, like if it would be a piece that was mounted on the wall, and there'd be a big slab behind a dog's head or something.
Yeah.
Lots of surface area with the shelf.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't need holes at all. I mean, the whole notion, again, even with talking about explosions are only happening because of steam. Okay, it's always steam. So even the classic pinhole isn't required if you're not concerned with steam. Okay, that the conventional wisdom is always air gets in there, the air expands, and it's trapped. The air has nothing to do with it because air could easily travel through the open pore network of the clay body. Right, the catch is going to be if you get steam expands and that generates pressure. And if there's water in the clay body, the water's going to hold the steam in place and it can't get out. If you have that simple pinhole, the steam's just going to go right through there and it won't be able to build pressure. So, if you're just like resting on a waste slab, I'm sure
Mhm.
there's plenty of holes because it's not going to be perfectly flat upon there.
Mhm.
Just even just very small, tiny holes that will allow that steam to escape.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just a waste slab. That's not something I'd be particularly concerned about. Have you seen an effect that
No.
concerns you, or you just hear it?
No, like people tell me all the time it needs to happen, and I think it doesn't make any difference if I do or if I don't.
Right. No, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, you probably don't need the slab even. I mean,
Yeah.
probably a piece of newspaper or a bed of sand will have the same effect, but
Okay.
whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Any other questions?
I have one about the White Road.
Okay. I unfortunately have not continued to read it since class started because I've been swamped, but lay it on me.
What is Patunsi? He talks
I have
about
no idea.
Patunsi, and I thought, what the heck is that?
Yeah, I know, and it keeps saying it, and my only guess was that it's pumice. But let me Google.
The book isn't bad, but I wish the Audible app had like a function where I could make it skip every sentence.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
How's it spelled?
I mean, I've been listening to it too, so I don't even know how it's spelled.
Oh, listen.
It is Petuntse. I can type it into the chat. Hello.
Tunsi kaolin. Yeah, it's a feldspathic kaolin. It's China stone.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's their feldspar.
Okay.
They're famous feldspar, yes.
Well, I mean, the thing is about the Chinese porcelains, they are impossible to throw. I mean, we think of clay as short, but they are so short. The amazing thing is the classic Chinese rice bowl, that's like 3 inches tall and 4 inches diameter with a small foot. When you watch those being made, they're thrown like a ½ inch thick or even thicker, because the clay is so unthrowable. All the throwers are doing is they are just making the most basic form. Okay, and then the thinness comes purely from the trimmers, and the pieces are trimmed bone dry with a trimming tool that's essentially just a razor. And then they trim it to literally that couple of millimeters thick that we know. But that clay is so short. I mean, when I was there, I had plenty of experience throwing. I couldn't throw more than a 4-inch cylinder. And it's like it almost hurts your ego because like I can throw, but it's the China stone and the Jingdezhen kaolin. It's super super short, and all the jobs are just specialized. That's how they do it.
Well, the book is good, but I like the Arcanum much better.
Yeah, and I think the Arcanum is for. I mean, the Arcanum's for everybody, but I think the Arcanum's a better story. I think that it's. The White Road, as far as I've gotten, is more of just it's too much him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sort of his philosophical, and I think it's good for people who read the New York Times and want to read, so have more experience. So just sort of like, yeah.
You're breaking up, Matt.
I am?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Turn up your resolution.
I just turned it
low for screen
down a little bit.
Oh.
No, I turned it. No, I was only at medium. Now I'm at low.
Huh.
I don't think anything else is. I mean, Why is this? No. That shouldn't be. Am I still breaking up?
No, it's a little better now.
Huh. I don't know what my internet connection is doing. I'm hardwired now. I ran the cable all the way across the house.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, stop.
Got something on your face there?
Yeah, a little something. Anyway, anybody else? Ted, you came in late. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, because I had to find some new headphones and a mic, and I wasn't sure whether it was working.
Yep.
I did have a question that occurred to me when I was reviewing some of the clay bodies that I've been testing.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding the packing efficiency, I was wondering whether you'd given us in Lecture 7 some densities for the Graulig and SSP and EPK and Tal6. And I was wondering whether when you begin combining those clays together, can you get a higher packing efficiency than the highest single kaolin that you listed? Something like a eutectic, the way a eutectic works?
Mm-hmm. Yes. If you blend your clays correctly, your packing efficiency should go up.
It should, but can it go up higher than the highest packing efficiency for any one kaolin?
Yes.
It can, okay. Because I think my tests seem to indicate that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing with particle packing, okay? Because especially with the kaolins, since they have an inherently limited packing efficiency, that as you start to blend, as you start to fill the void spaces of the kaolin, so say Graulig is your base kaolin, right? That there are a certain amount of voids that Graulig can't fill. As you add in the SSP or the EPK or whatever you're putting in there, it is inherently filling those void spaces, which brings up the density. So ideally, yes, you should see it going up.
Okay. All right. Well, then that made sense. Then, let's see. I'm one lecture behind, so the lecture 2 lectures ago when you were talking about spodumene and petalite, looking at those 2 formulas, I'm trying to figure out why the spodumene is more refractory than the petalite, since the flux and the alumina ratios are the same. Is it because of the fact that you have less silica, which makes...
Well, here, you know what I'll do? Hold on, let me pull up the UMF chart here. One second, let me load both of these up. Here's petalite. Okay, so it's not more refractory. Petalite is more refractory than spodumene. The question is, why aren't they? I would say that the question is, why aren't they more refractory than a feldspar? Because that they've got less. So here is the UMF chart, which I don't know if you can see all of it. Okay, so spodumene, right? 1.0 alkali metal, almost 2 alkali earth, 8 silica. Okay. So spodumene, or a petalite, 1 alkali metal, almost 2 alumina, 14, almost 15 silica. Okay, and it's because of the molecular weight of lithium is so low compared to the total volume of silica and alumina in there, it just pushes that glass former ratio much higher than it is in the traditional material, along with the fact of having essentially double alumina of what you would expect. Because there can be free alumina, that can be a thing. And so they just become incredibly refractory and hard to deal with.
Okay, then in that practically the same sentence on that lecture, I thought you were saying that spodumene has a higher melting point than petalite, and that surprised me since there's only 4 silicas in the spodumene molecule, and there's 8 in the petalite.
Did I say that? I don't think I would have, but let me make sure I didn't. No. Oh, yeah, it does. It is listed as having a higher melting point. I'll have to go back and look at my notes. Honestly, the notes on this is old, and I'll have to review where I got that data from.
Okay, well, I just couldn't understand it based on the
No,
formula.
that's a good catch. I'll have to go back and look up where I got that value from.
Okay, and then another question that occurred to me on the sodium-based glazes,
Mhm.
which could be a carbon trap glaze. I was wondering, do you need to use those glazes immediately upon making them, or can they store even though there's a greater solubility issues?
With the sodium glazes, it's generally sort of believed to take the solubility as a non-issue. Now, your question is astute. We shouldn't take it as such. But we sort of just allow it to take a pass. Even though the same issues apply, you've still got soluble sodium. The catch is, a lot of the time, since that sodium might go into the body, which then flux the body a little bit, but that you sort of get a consistent result with the glazes because you're losing an equal amount of sodium. Whereas in the clays, because of the changes in plasticity based on the addition of sodium, it becomes more of a problem. Yeah, with glazes, it's definitely one of those things where we sort of give it a pass when we vilify it with a body. You know, there are certainly glazes out there. I think back to, I don't remember whether I talked about it in the glaze class, but there was a time years ago where my wife was working on a huge portfolio, and we had designed this beautiful nickel purple glaze, and it was amazing, and we mixed up this whole large batch of it and then let it sit around for a week, just assuming that it would be fine, and then glazed all of our pots and fired them, and they had completely changed because of the solubility of the glaze, and it was useless. I mean, literally, we had to throw the pots out. They were intended to be purple. They came out brown. There are some materials where that's a condition, but you know, it's sort of on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, with the sodium glazes, fresh is better, but you know, old is normal. But I mean, you will find people who talk about glazes that they changed over time. Of, oh, this glaze doesn't work anymore, or you know, I'm getting a different response.
Actually,
Fine.
sure. And that Brad's been taking his
Who said that? Who's watching TV?
That was Annie.
Oh, okay. Did you have any more questions, Ted?
That does it for me right now, unless something
Okay.
comes up during the discussion.
Well, I'm glad you haven't watched yesterday's lecture, because before you showed up, everyone was asking questions that are answered in tomorrow's lecture that weren't answered in yesterday's lecture. So you missed the pre-replays.
I did think of a question when I came in. You were talking about copper reds. When you turn your kiln off and the back pressure is eliminated, I always thought the kiln went into oxidation, so I always wondered why it was necessary or suggested that you oxidize at the end.
I think it's while the temperature is still going up, and so the glaze is more inherently volatile. You know, I mean, as soon as it starts to cool, the molecules stop moving and the glaze begins to solidify, even at minorly lower temperatures. So I think it's just to make sure that you've got that oxidation taking place while the glaze is volatile.
Okay. All right. I've seemed to have always had copper reds without doing the oxidation at the end.
Yeah, it's not a requirement at all, but it makes them much more vibrant.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so Kiyoshi, since you're new, do you have any questions, or are you feeling good? Oh, I have to unmute you.
Oh no, I can unmute myself. You can
Okay.
hear me, right?
Yep,
I just have a random question that's related to glaze, but
I'm good with that.
what's your like opinion on Frit 3403 as far as like safety?
I don't know. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't know for
got lead in
my
it.
head. You know, leaded
Yeah.
frits are fine. You know, it's. Do you intend on using it for a food surface?
No, I mean I'm talking about like when you're mixing it and like as far as like do I want to stick my hand
Fritted
in
lead
there?
is the best possible form of lead. Now, that's not to assume that frits are not water soluble. In fact, many frits are very water soluble. You know, 3110 is a fairly water soluble frit. And lead poisoning is a very real thing. I have a friend, not in ceramics, but I have a friend who worked in stained glass windows, and she got very, very bad lead poisoning. Very bad. Like, she had seizures because she didn't use proper safety. I think if it's fritted, definitely points above using raw lead, white lead, red lead. You know, gloves, apron, wash your clothes after you're done. Because remember, the only two materials that are actually regulated at all is lead and cadmium. They have serious long-term effects. You know, no matter how much ceramicists like to freak out about copper or barium, you can do whatever you want with those as far as government health and safety regulations are concerned. And I honestly I don't worry about those either. But lead can be serious. You know.
Oh yeah, okay.
What? Go ahead. You can embarrass yourself.
Oh no, I'm not. I was just like I was mixing a glaze for Walter today, and Keith was wondering whether like it was safe or not.
3403.
Yeah. Or he wasn't wondering, but he like has heard it's safe, and then I mean you answered.
Yeah. You know, honestly, Keith should brush up on his lead standards. But you know, some of the faculty still uses lead. I know Anne still uses lead. Obviously, well, Anne's not faculty anymore, but Walter's using lead. You know, wear gloves, apron, and a mask. You're making that face like you weren't.
Yeah, no, always respirator. And you'll probably get to this at some point, but all we have right now is the Soldner mixers.
I know.
How would you like personally if you only had a Soldner and you're trying to like mix like a 200-pound batch?
Yep. No, I know what we
Mix
have.
clay.
It's there's a few things. The first is there's the char in the grinding room, and that's actually going to be your best friend. We will talk about mixing on Friday's lecture, but the thing you want to do is you want to try to mix actually as much of your clay body in the char as possible. So you want to mix the water, bentonite if you've got it, then you want to mix about 20% of your total clay content, as well as your feldspar and your flint, and do that all in the char. And for the rest of you guys who don't know, the char is a high-speed liquids mixer. Okay? That way, all those materials will still be liquid enough that you can then transfer them into the Soldner and add the rest of the clay.
It's funny you say that because I was talking to Corey about that, and that's exactly what he said.
Yeah. It's because remember, the whole thing with mixing is that you need to get all of those feldspar particles especially, but secondarily all those quartz particles suspended in the water. Okay? And so the clay particles then pack around them. That's the whole packing density notion. Right? So if you can put them into the water, so that 20% clay that you put in first, that's to keep the non-plastic suspended in the water, and then the char homogenizes them and gets them dispersed, and then you transfer that into the Soldner or into the Soldner mixers, or I mean, actually, I wish we had a smaller Muller, because that giant Muller is so dirty. But actually, Muller's the best green mixer down there.
Oh, it's super dirty.
Yeah, it's super dirty. It's ridiculously dirty. It's always been that way. Yeah, but mix it as a slurry. But
Yeah, because I mixed like a 200-pound batch of Linda's porcelain, and it's so short. I mean, it's fine, but like I can see the difference with it.
Well,
coming out the bag and then like mixing in the Soldner. Maybe that's just my fault.
You were mixing the Laguna stuff?
No, I just mixed the Linda's porcelain recipe.
Are you confident about your batching of it, that you got all the ingredients just right?
Yeah. But like I can tell that everything isn't like as dispersed as it should be.
Linda's porcelain, to be nice, is not a great clay body. It's got a lot of issues, and you know that you could come up with something a little bit better.
Yeah, I just have so much of it right now. It's kind of bad.
Yeah, that's always the case. I mean, I will be up starting in 2 weeks, and it sounds like Takumi wants to be working on developing a body. So if you want to work on developing a body, we can do that when I'm back up.
Are you going to be up for like a duration of time?
I'm going to be up 3 times during the semester for several days a trip.
Okay.
And actually, I was going to talk to you because I've got another class. If you've got space, I'd like to get you into, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can work on tweaking it. But it's a limited body. That classic problem that I talk about of the 55% graphic, that's Linda's porcelain.
Oh yeah, I know. I realized that.
I mean, but I should say it's not just Linda's. It's so many porcelains out there. You know that it's just a problem with porcelains. They're not designed to actually be plastic. They're just designed to work okay enough. Oh, I muted you. You can unmute. You're actually okay since you stopped ruffling. Sounds like Peter's clicking his mouse.
Always blaming me for something.
Well, you know.
Okay, fine. You're correct. It is me. My computer keyboard is really loud.
Is this your new one?
Yeah. It's made to be that way. It's a mechanical keyboard for...
Oh, yeah. I can hear you clicking.
Yeah.
Kyoshi, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just keep on like muting and unmuting myself as like
you're fine now.
System.
No, you're okay. You don't have to mute yourself anymore. You know, so how much of the clay do you have?
Whatever I have, I'll probably be able to throw it over break like between now and when school starts. So it's not really. But then it's like I'm not gonna just throw away.
No.
Like, trimmings and stuff yeah.
Well.
Maybe I'll give it to someone. But.
I was gonna say trimmings or reclaim. I mean, you know, there's always the dump bucket in the grinding room that you can.
Yeah, but there are people who take porcelain reclaim, so.
That's true. You know, it again, it sort of depends on. You know, think about the conditions of what you want, and then you know we can sort of work out from there. I mean, that's always the classic sort of statement of what do you want this porcelain to do? Do you want it white? Do you want it plastic? Do you want it cheap? You know, there's going to be a sacrifice where, so decide what's sacrificial.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ted, how's your development going? You're feeling like you're getting something?
I think categorizing the clay bodies is a lot more difficult than you were suggesting. First of all, I had to add more water than 500 grams because it just wasn't going together. So I used 600. It was easier to mix, and I wet mixed them. So trying to maximize the effect. But that took days longer to dry it out on the plaster.
Right.
Down here in Florida.
Yeah.
So then I ended up with different bodies had different wetnesses. It wasn't the same anymore. So some were stiff. They dried it. They gave up the water too freely, and others took longer. So it's very hard to come up with something that's comparable from one body to another. It did seem, though, I'm happy to say, that when I started to combine all three kaolins in different amounts, I was getting a better throwing body. That seems to be prevalent throughout your lectures.
Yeah.
So that part worked out. The body that I liked, which I started with, I still like, but these other bodies had several characteristics that I like better.
What sort of characteristics?
A little bit less slip on my hands, and requiring less pressure on the wall. They seem to be plastic. I ended up throwing a couple a little bit taller than I could with my standard body. What I was wondering was whether I have too much bentonite or too much V gum. The formula that I'd given you was what I had worked out with just the super standard.
Was it 3%? Right here.
I should know it, but it's right here.
I have Robin's notes here.
It's roughly.
Oh, here it is. It's 3%.
2% bentolite and 3% V-gum.
Right. That amount may be excessive, and you know that's something to test later on. I mean, I've never seen levels quite that high. But I mean, you had a floppy body. I mean, SSP on its own is actually worse than just Grollig. No matter how much I might slander Grollig, straight SSP is harder to work with often. So I could not say definitively. I would say get the rest of the body to somewhere that you like, and then you can debate reducing those amounts. I mean, I would probably, if I just had my way, I'd probably just eliminate the bentolite altogether.
And keep the V-gum at 3, roughly 3% somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I generally like my V-gum at 2, and it will come up in tomorrow's lecture, just looking at the effect of just V-gum from a firing standpoint, because V-gum is actually a minor flux. So it's probably giving you a bunch of the melting effects that you like, since this is an ultra-white glassy porcelain.
Glassy. I don't recall my body looking glassy.
Oh, it just, I mean, I'm using that term, but just looking at your flux loading. Wait, is that a 20 or is that a 28? That's a 20. No, it's 28 flint.
Yeah, 28.
28 flint. Well, with 26, well,
when we normalized, it worked out to roughly 25% was flint.
Yeah. No, and I'm just looking at my terrible handwriting. It's still fairly glassy. You're right. It's not ultra glassy. I take that back, but it's still a fairly glassy porcelain with 26% HP and 4% willastonite. That's should be pretty glassy with the V gum on top of it. But I will go back and say, I mean, I think that it's interesting that you note different effects based on blending the porcelains, even with noticeable variations in water content. I mean, going back to that notion of blending the clays, enhancing your green packing density, getting something better than the sum of its parts is part of the process, of developing the clays. And I think that your observations are astute. I mean, I think that's what I would expect you to see.
Mm-hmm.
But then we can contradict me, because then we can ask Robin about her development.
I'm over here with the dirt clay.
The dirt clay. We've got the ultra white and the ultra dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to get out my note paper because I want to take notes, because I was losing track a little bit from the message board comments as to what you had from your last comment that you submitted. Okay, so your triaxial, right, you had the Hebron clay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you do a pure corner, or were you blending clays at the corners?
No, I didn't do a triaxial.
Oh, you didn't do. Oh, okay. What did you do then? That's where I'm missing.
Well, I just dreamed up my own concoction.
Okay.
A little higher amount, because the Hebron clay is contaminated, and in order to clean it, I thought, well, I'll just wet it and then clean the whole thing at the same time. All of my tests. So I just came up with some tests based on Hebron clay, OM4, and Hawthorne, and I did 4 tests.
Okay.
In different.
What are the percentages of the 4 tests?
Okay, and
you can do it in the cups. That's fine.
Yeah, I did it by parts. Of course, I don't have those formulas sitting right in front of me. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I got a copy. I'll just have to find it. Here we go. So I did 4 tests. 4 of them had 4 cups of Hebron clay. 3 of them had 4 cups of Hebron clay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the OM4 varied between 3/4 of a cup to a half cup to a quarter cup, back to a half. And
half, a quarter, and one had a half?
Yeah.
So 2 had a half, 1 had a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the third one, or the third ingredient, Hawthorne,
Mm-hmm.
I used a quarter cup in test 1, a half cup in test 2,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 cup in test 3, and 1.5 cups in test 4.
So now, test 4, as far as the Hebron clay, you said 3 of them had 4 cups. What did test 4 have?
Test 4 had 3 cups.
That had 3 cups. Okay.
I reduced the Hebron clay on that one.
So test 4 was 3, a quarter, and 1.5.
3, 1/2.
Oh, a half, and then this was a quarter.
Yeah, and 1.5.
3, and then 4 was 4, a half, and a quarter.
Correct.
Okay. And now do you want to recount to me what your responses on these were?
Okay. That's 13 pots that I made, and all of them cracked except for 1.
So 13. So it's the where are you getting 13 from? That's
No,
what
I made
multiple
4
pots.
I
Okay.
made 4 pots in each group, and then
Okay.
in the group I just made 2. So
Okay.
so I made 13 pieces all together and kept them all numbered and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And they all cracked. You asked me what kind of cracks, and I think I said like 7 of them had not a classic S crack. They had a C, like kind of a scribbly C-shaped crack. A couple of them had a triangulated crack, and 2 of them had a new crack that I've never seen before.
What crack is that?
It was a straight line with a crack like a Y shape at both ends of the straight line.
So like
like, yeah.
Okay.
I did lots with that kind.
Okay.
Well,
And what about the green performance? Did you have any
They,
response to one versus another?
I think that they were all a tad stiffer than I'm accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And the only tactile difference I could tell was that when I wedged it, it felt a bit more like it was pushing back at me, like is the way bread's supposed to feel when you knead it long enough when it pushes back. But when I stuck my thumb in it, it felt soft, and that was a change. It
Do you
was
know which body that was?
true with all of them.
With all of them.
Yeah, but they all threw the same. They all threw well. I was able to achieve wide bellies, narrow necks. I used a serrated blade to cut away clay and stretch it, and it took all of that.
But now I just want to go back and make sure. So you were 48 and 4. So your original body that I'm looking at, the formula I have here, is your 48 parts Hebron clay, 4 parts Hawthorne. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really 12 to 1, right?
Yeah.
12 to 1, and then these are at best, so that's 8 to 1, that's 12. So this is 12 to 1, 8 to 1, 12 to 1. And then, so do you have any particular response about number 4? Because you're 2 to 1 for your Hawthorne to your Hebron clay.
Uh,
Do you remember anything noticeable about that one?
I think that's the one where I got the crazy cracks.
Okay.
Now, the whole thing wasn't a surprise because there was no sand in there,
Mm-hmm.
or well, no sand. So.
Right, because you're normally doing 4 parts sand.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just looking over these notes.
Okay.
12 to 1. But I mean, that you think number 4 had that same wedging, pushing response as the other ones?
Yeah. Yeah, relatively similar.
And how do you think any of these compared to your original? Just exactly the same?
Well, my most original formula is just simply 12 bowls of Hebron clay to 2 bowls of sand.
Well, the one I've got here, the 48 Hebron clay,
Okay.
1 kyanite, 4 Hawthorne, 4 sand.
Yeah, and that's been my newest attempt at correcting the cracking problem.
Mm-hmm. So how compared to that, what do you think? Same?
No, as far as handling goes, I would say they threw about the same, considering there was no sand in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, what I would say is to go back to. Let me make sure I call out the right one here. 1/4, 3/4. And again, no noticeable difference between like 1 and 3.
No.
That's 12 to 1. Then that's 4. That's 8. I mean, I still think you're light on the hawthorn.
Okay.
But, I mean, you're saying that with number 4, you didn't have any appreciable difference.
And I did have more hawthorn in that one.
And
so,
that's almost 6 times as much hawthorn as your normal formula.
yeah.
Was it stickier? Was it...
No. No, it wasn't.
Well, I mean, I would go back and reincorporate the sand into the process. I mean, as with the discussion about the non-plastics and with the sand as a filler, because you don't have any other non-plastics, that you are relying on the particle size of the fine natural sand in there to add your particle packing. So I'm not shocked. I mean, even no matter how much I said that the large non-plastics don't have an effect, because sand has a naturally smaller particle size than, say, grog tends to be pretty consistent, that the sand is going to give you a type of non-plastic particle to pack around, and I think that you are going to need that no matter what.
Yeah.
So I'd go back and add the sand, and I still think what I would say is to do keep your Hebron clay and the hawthorn at 12-1, so you're 48-4, or you're 4-1/4, that proportion, and just try increasing OM4 proportionally. So your max level here is 3/4, so try 1, 1.5, 2 maybe,
Okay.
with 4 Hebron clay. So it would be like this. So it would be 4 Hebron clay. Hawthorn bond would be 1/4. Sand is 1/4. And then you've got OM4. And so you go 3/4, 1, 1.5, 2. So let's see if this is all blown out. Oh, I'm backward. Oh my god, I'm backwards.
Okay.
Oh god, how do I reverse my camera? I don't know how to reverse my camera.
Put it on a mirror. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe if I take a... I know, the selfie camera doesn't work. Oh, here we go. I'm going to take a picture of a piece of paper and hold it up to a computer monitor. I'm going to take a selfie of a piece of paper and hold it up to a computer monitor. Wait, watch this. I'm going to blow everybody's mind. Ready? Okay, wait. Is it right? I can't see. I'm not in the center.
I know.
It just shows up as white.
see
Oh,
it.
it's all white. Ah, it's too blown out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's there, I swear. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you get the note?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I would do, because I think, yes, you need the non-plastic for just your inherent particle packing. And I think that the OM4, if you're not getting any effect from varying the hawthorn, then that just means that the hawthorn is too close of a particle size to the Hebron clay. Okay. Since you've got some fairly different distributions between the proportion of Hebron clay to hawthorn, you should be seeing a result from that. And since you're not, it just means that the particle sizes are going to be redundant.
And then should I just leave kyanite for another day?
Yeah, leave kyanite. Include it.
Later.
Yeah, no, include it in these tests.
Oh, okay.
But don't alter don't alter the amount of it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one on the triaxial.
Yep.
I understand in my case with the 3 different kalins that I was trying that I put each individual kalin at one of the 3 points of the triangle, but I'm not sure how you calculated the other boxes. I'm not following that.
Well, there is no calculation on the other boxes. The other boxes are all just static.
They're what?
They're static. They don't move.
Well, going from tile 1 to tile 2, the SSP was reduced, and then I added some Grolic.
Right. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the fluxes. Hold on. Let me open it up.
I just don't understand the.
Yep. No. I got you. I'm just opening up the calculator. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For a moment.
So make this 100. So all that this is doing, right? What the calculator does is that it says, it looks at the total amount of material. Okay, as if this is 100%, this is 80%, and actually, I'm sorry, it's 75%. So if you look, can you see this other little triangle of boxes over here?
Look. No.
No.
I
Can't see what the screen is sharing. Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Well, I don't know why it's not showing this because I'm all scrolled over on it. Do you see? Whoa, hello, who's there? So over here, you can see the bottom corner of some calculations. Over here.
I'm looking for your arrow.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to coordinate between seeing what you see and seeing what I see. Do you see a little thing that's like 7.25.75?
No, I can't read the numbers. They're too small.
Well, it's basically what the calculator does is that it's referencing a proportional breakdown. So hidden on the spreadsheet is hold on, I gotta stop sharing this. Is another little area. Where's my boxes? That just says in this box you take so much of a percentage from tile 1 and so much of a percentage from tile 2. So let me try it again. Because I can't see what I'm seeing and what I'm sharing at the same time. Oh. What is it doing?
Yeah, your screen's freaking out.
Yeah. I don't know what it's doing. Try one more time.
Well, let me ask this question, which is what I was leading up to. If I have selected certain bodies that I like the best, you were suggesting a chat or so ago about then coming up with a new triaxial.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how to go about setting that up because I don't understand the math, these numbers.
Well, what that would be is to say your favorite clay, your 3 favorite clays, okay, were in boxes.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's just say it was boxes 1, 2, and 3. Okay, just since it's what we all can see. Okay. So if it's 1, 2, and 3, what you would then do is take the formulas of 1 and enter it in as point A. Okay.
Okay.
2, yeah, at the top.
Okay.
Take 2 and make that point B. Okay.
Just a second. I'm sorry, Peter. Can you mute yourself? It wants to flash you a lot for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
There we go.
Okay.
Now good. Thank you.
Point. So the second one would be point B, and you'd enter this formula into B, and then 3 would be point C, and you'd enter this formula into C.
Okay.
So now these 3 points would be the center, or would be the corners of a major triangle.
Okay. All right, so you've got math embedded in that triaxial that does all the calculation for us.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to show you, but I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's not allowing me to move around. It's acting weird.
Okay. All right.
But
because the tiles that I liked, ironically, I don't have any that are in a row. Like 8, 9, 10.
Well, not so much a
around.
row, but can you identify a triangle where you had your best results, or a triangle that contains your best results? It doesn't even have to be 3 that are immediately touching.
Right. I can make a triangle from 3 that I liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does your best one fall inside that triangle, or your favorite?
Not following what. Well, I haven't put. All right. For right now, let's say 8, 9, and 10. That is a row that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put 8, let's say, at the top, and 9 and 10 on the 2 corners.
Well, what I would probably do if you like 8, 9, and 10, I would probably say make a triangle between 3, 8, and 9. 3, 8, and 10.
Tile 3, 8,
Yep.
and 10. Now, why?
Because that will include 8, 9, and 10, as well as some other combinations that might be good, but you don't know yet.
Oh.
I get you.
All right, say that again.
Okay.
Now you've got 4 tiles, and I'm trying to figure out how to.
No. It's still only 3. Hold on. Let me see if I can see what the. It's not sharing. Let me. If I scroll down, is it going to share it? Stop sharing. And let me try to share this again like this. Oh, I don't want you. Okay. Okay. So now, okay, so this is number 3 here. It's just cut off, but okay, so number 3, right, but you like 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
So because 8, 9, and 10 are in a line, what you want to do is create a triangle that includes all of those. So what I would say is pick point 3, because if you go 3 down to 8 over to 10, you have 3 tiles on each edge.
Okay.
Right?
I see what you're doing. Okay.
So now you'll have clays that exist between 8 and 9, between 9 and 10, but you'll also have some clays up here that might also be good, but you don't know it yet because you haven't tried them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And then hopefully, if you like something here, what you end up liking might be one of the points in between 8 and 9, or 9 and 10, or it might be point 8, 9, or 10. But you have to try the other potential formulas around there to know that that's what you like.
Okay.
Why are you using wollastonite in that body?
I had read somewhere a long time ago that that having some calcium in the body was good, and it might have been Nigel Wood's Oriental Glazes, which is out of print now. I think he was trying to come up with how the Orientals did it, and had found quite a bit of calcium in the bodies.
Well, and the theory isn't wrong. I mean, I talk about that. It came up on Friday's lecture of that, 2% whiting, 2% wollastonite. It's not a terrible thing. It will actually get your glassy melting very active. The same way, though, that I was talking with your body, Ted, of using V-gum. V-gum is 19% MgO, and that MgO has a very similar effect at cone 10. That a little bit of RO is a good addition. I think where Peter's going is wollastonite the best possible material? The main problem with wollastonite is it has mixing issues. Because of its needle structure, it becomes hard to mix evenly throughout the clay body. So that would be the thing that I would be wary of. But if it works for you, it works for you. Because wollastonite is better than, say, whiting. Whiting can potentially turn into a plaster or a cement, which could cause a pop-out, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, going back to the mixing, you said to your water you'd add bentonite and then you go to 20% clay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should go from bentonite to wollastonite to get that mixed in early?
I think that is a good idea.
Okay. I'll add that to my...
And we'll talk about mixing procedures on Friday's lecture.
Oh, Ted, I had a thing for you. I remembered from the last class. You mentioned you had no way to filter press, and one of the students last year said a potter's trick was to mix up their slip, or their clay as a slip, and then pour it into suspended jeans with the legs tied off.
Yes.
It would work. It's not the best way, but if you wanted to mix that way, I think you could get away with it.
That is a true method. The world's most ghetto filter press. The catch is you have to keep those jeans hanging from the ceiling, and belt loops are notoriously weak. So you have to find another way to support 200 pounds of slip hanging from jeans from the ceiling. It's an engineering trick all on its own.
And the dyes in jeans wouldn't...
They would all burn out.
You know,
we used to talk about with Dr. Carter used to always dream about putting methylene blue in clays just so you could sort of see what it was doing. It burns out, you know.
There is a company, that's a good point, I was going to bring that up, that makes dyes for clay bodies.
Oh, really? Oh, like permanent dyes.
No, not a permanent dye. One that burns out in the firing, just so you can distinguish between, various bodies if you're running them through a plant.
I know a lot of industrial companies will tend to dye their glazes pink so that they can actually see the application of the glaze over the white body. So you can see inconsistencies if it's, if you expect a solid coat of pink over white. I don't know why they choose pink, but that's not uncommon. Dyeing your body, yeah, it could be a thing, but
That's the thing, I can't find it. It's some company out of the UK. I had sort of had questions on whether or not that would actually work, or
right.
what problems that would cause. But
none that I know of.
anything.
Peter, you have a note here about barium bromide?
Oh, barium bromide. Okay. No, that's just kind of a funny story. We have some guy that is convinced that we put barium bromide in our glazes, and it's leaching into the food, and you can't even mix bromides with water because they turn into deadly gas.
Is this a customer?
That's a customer.
Well, why is he buying your pots then?
He had some old ones from the 60s or 70s. No, he's just been pestering everyone he possibly can, trying to figure it out.
To each their own. Okay, if anybody doesn't have any more questions about clay, I found something today, and since many of you taken the glaze class, I wanted to show you guys. So are there any more clay questions right at the moment?
Just one, but that may not be clay, and it's mostly because now I'm really interested in black glass.
Oh, yeah, it's black glass.
Just colored black like Cassius clay is, or?
I mean, the glass, the body looks black, but we'll talk about it on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that reaction on Monday. Okay, I want to show you guys this, because I found this today. Did everybody see this? Am I getting it shared? Okay. So, sorry, for those of you who haven't taken the glaze class, this might seem like I'm talking crazy, but I found my old glaze maps for all the different ROs, okay? And I had presented this at the American Ceramic Society back in 2003, and I lost the notes, and I found them today, looking for something for the clay class or for the glazes class. Again, just proving my point that I'm not a crazy person. Okay, that any RO R2O combination works. So, as you would expect, these are all recreations of Stull. Here's the classic sodium calcium. Now, the one thing on this is to notice that the scale is off. And honestly, I admit this to you guys, even though it's going on YouTube, that this was drawn ideally by the graduate student who actually made this one. So it looks real pretty, but it's not fully accurate. But here are the maps for lithium and calcium and potassium and calcium. And again, similar glossy region through the top, peaks at cone at 0.6 alumina, matte region on the upper right, and then everything else dries out. Same for potassium and calcium, glossy region through the middle, 7:1 matte region, dries out at about 0.5, 0.6. Okay, then we can scroll down, if I can scroll down, to, it's not changing. Hold on. Stop it. Share. MgO and calcium. Okay. Again, sodium, lithium, magnesium. But again, that the trends pretty much hold. We've got some flexibility because remember, these are all just based on gloss meter readings, but basically we still get the gloss through the center, matte region above, etc., etc. And then I've got them for, I got to keep stopping this. Strontium. Again, nothing stops. Can't stop the music. All the same thing. The trends keep continuing, even though that this becomes a little blobjectular. That the trends still stay the same. And barium. Oops. And the barium one is the sexiest. Because you've got this big, wide open range that these barium levels, because barium becomes a fairly inactive RO molecule, so it allows for actually more melting, right? And that more melting actually gives you wider, glossier regions. It's actually really, really cool. We've talked about the atomic size of barium and how it sort of is lazy because it's so big, and so you get these big, big, wide ranges with barium. So that's what I found today. I was very excited by that. I know, I need hobbies. I do have to apologize to everybody. I know that I have been slack on the readings, but Eli didn't have school for the last 2 weeks, which I overestimated how much free time I would have with that, because he has decided that he is 4 years old and naps are optional. The readings will come, and as you all know, they're just supplementary, and I will get to them. But just making sure I'm getting the content out, it left me a little bit behind to get the readings, but they will come. Yeah. So is that it for tonight?
I got nothing.
You got nothing. Okay, good.
I got nothing.
So tomorrow will be firings 2. Friday will be mixing, drying, and forming. Hopefully I can fit it all into one lecture. And then next Monday will be clay flaws. There probably is going to be a lecture that goes up on next Wednesday, but it won't be anything related to the exam. It's just because, I've run out of time and there's more content to be had. So it'll probably be a sort of messy, catch-all, everything lecture next Wednesday. Like I said, those of you who don't care about the exam, you don't care about the exam. Works for me. And I don't know, Peter, I still can't see the grades. For some reason, with doing the multiple choice test, it doesn't actually let me see your answers. It just gives you your grade and then it leaves it hanging.
That's weird, because I know definitely there were 2 questions that were joke questions, sort of.
You didn't take them seriously, Peter.
Question 7.
Say
7.
again?
7. 7.
Yeah.
Question 7.
I don't even remember which one was 7.
I don't either.
I think it was the one where you said that your hobby is taking care of all the lonely raccoons in the world. At least that's the choice I picked. I think that's what.
Oh, see, I don't think that was the right answer. So,
That was the other one. Crystal structure is random, repeating, repeating, or repeating. And I picked all 3 repeating. Why
I
not?
think that one I did set that you could pick any of those 3.
But I picked all 3 of them.
Well, but that you're only allowed to pick one.
No, it let me pick all
It
3.
did it?
You were allowed to pick all 3.
Oh. I gotta do it's gotta be in here somewhere, but right now, like I click on your name and it just shows me your grade.
Yeah, I guess
Because it automatically grades it, but it doesn't actually let me see the exam.
I just want to know which one I got wrong legitimately so I can correct that little gap in my knowledge.
Oh, Peter, you already know it.
I don't know which one I got wrong. I thought I got 3 wrong.
You already know the relevant information.
Oh, fair enough.
Well, and the sad thing is I'm looking at the grades right here, and Kiyoshi got the best grade in the class. So
Did I actually?
yeah, you got a 90. You put all these whippersnappers to shame. So that's okay.
I got an 80. I was depressed for 2 days.
It's a multiple choice test.
Which one did I get wrong?
Which 2 I got wrong?
I gotta look.
What's that Simpsons quote? Lisa, school shuts down and Lisa runs up to Marge. Grade me, rank me, evaluate.
Hello. I put that GIF on the message board for you last summer when you weren't getting your grades fast enough. Grade me, grade me, grade me. Tell me I'm smart and oh so wonderful. Yeah. It won't let me see them. It's, the only people here I actually have to judge are Kiyoshi and Mei and Takumi, who are my actual undergraduates, and they all did fine, so. And I can give them all dirty looks when I get to school in 2 weeks.
Which 2 I got? Are you coming? Are you actually coming
I'm either gonna come. Let me see. I will be up there. So what? The first day of school is the 19th.
19th.
I theoretically should be there on the 20th, but I was debating waiting until the 27th. I mean, I guess I should go on the 20th. So that week. So for the first week of school, I should go. I just don't know if I'll get as much done if I go as I would if I go the next week. But if you want to get together and talk about development, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna I have a lot of free time now, so I should try to get something done right now.
Well, it's the same. Go back and check out the labs and go back and try the basic triaxial.
Yeah.
That's described there. And yeah, if you've got time, you can bust those out, in 2 days you can do a round of tests, and honestly you could have something done by the time I'm up there.
Yeah.
An almost fully developed body.
Yeah. But we have this is kind of we have the filter press, don't we?
Yeah.
But why isn't it hooked up?
You can talk to Keith about that. The grinding room is not my area.
Oh no, I was just curious because it's well, I guess it's just busy work.
The funny thing is that I have been told that in the 40s, the grinding room actually ran on filter presses. That's what everything was. They take more work. They're dirtier. If the students don't know how to run them, they're a mess. But yeah, I mean, there should be a filter press in there running full time.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But and the rest of the school is aware of that. But that they make their decisions based on whatever criteria they do. But yeah, I mean, if you want to start developing something, post it on the message board, like what clays you think you want to try, what your criteria are, and we can work from there. And then when I'm up, we can meet and talk.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably do that at some point, maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
Okay. Cool beans. All right, y'all.
Hey,
Okay. Stay warm, everybody. Everybody good?
yep,
Okay.
Good
I will
night.
see y'all next week.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take it easy.